Hey, what is going on, my fellow godlies and Warframe enthusiasts around the world? I am Vance from Warframe God Builds, and I know I've been ranting a lot recently, and I haven't meant to do it on purpose. I just feel obligated to drag these subjects of controversy out into the spotlight. Maybe, just maybe, Digital Extremes is overworking themselves on the war within, trying to rush it out to us, and they don't have time to follow up on these critical updates that they've been pushing through. So here I am talking about the unique charged attack melee weapons that they've been pushing through, which are really good. They're amazing. My most favorite one is the Caustacyst. If you checked out the video regarding the Limbo rant, I used that and only that throughout the duration of that video, and it's because it's a really great weapon, but it falls. It falls short of living up to its true potential because of a couple of really dumb reasons. The first reason is the fact that it just does not proc Shadow Step from the Narumon lens. If you activate your Narumon lens, you'll notice that your crits are really fucking wonky and they're inconsistent. Some crits proc the Shadow Step, some don't. And then other times, the same crits that did proc it don't proc it. It's really buggy. It's really, really buggy, and they need to resolve that, and they need to resolve it in such a way that every single crit procs the Shadow Step. Not just some, not just a few, and certainly not inconsistently. I mean, whether it's the acid that's on the floor, whether it's damage over time because of status, or rather it's a direct hit. If it's a crit, it should proc the Shadow Step in the Narumon lens. The second issue is the fact that you can't benefit from the charge attack while the melee isn't equipped. Prime examples of this are Glaive and Redeemer. People really kind of bring those weapons because they don't want to carry a melee. They want another gun, or whatever the case. I just can't see why you can't benefit from the charge attack while it's holstered. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because the weapon at some point does fall off. The damage, you really risk your neck. You just put your life out on the line when you're fighting like level 120 heavies. And it would make the weapon make a lot more sense if we could just benefit from the charge attack while we have a primary or a secondary equipped. That way we could, CC our targets and secure the kill. It would just make a whole lot more sense. It would make life easier. It would prevent Digital Extremes from having to buff the weapon to bring it up to the standards of everything else that is in-game viable. Because let's face it, Zenistar and Telos Boltes, they're so overpowered, and that's a good thing. They don't need a nerf. I completely understand why you wouldn't be able to benefit from the charge attacks from those weapons, because, I mean, you obviously have to equip them, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Telos Boltes is such a great... It's just such a great weapon. I use it on Nezha, and I'll go ahead and feature the build for Nezha and the Telos Boltes as long as I'm talking about it. Zenistar is the same way. I did a video about using the Zenistar with the Naros and talking about it being just super overpowered. And not just situational, like you can really use it against low tier or high tier. There's some YouTubers out there, not going to point the finger, but there's some YouTubers out there who've gotten a really, really quick rise off of making really situational builds. And on the surface, these builds look like they're amazing and they do a crap ton of damage. And they do, but they're highly situational. They're only geared towards, like, in-game level threats, whereas they're not going to do shit against low tier. They're not going to be practical in practice. Dual Caustacyst, using it on Mesa. I think you probably know who I'm talking about at this point, but if you follow that video, you're going to notice that using that weapon with Infested, it's nearly impossible to get the headshot. So, back onto the topic at hand. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about that or Limbo, since I covered him in a video like I mentioned before, but I think it's time to start considering projectile weapons, not just, weapons like Ogris or Torrid, but weapons like Glaive, weapons like Caustacyst. I think it's time to start considering those weapons as viable candidates for, potential weapons that could exit the Cataclysm from Limbo and do some damage outside of the Void. I just feel like a Limbo buff is right around the corner, or it needs to be at least. So that could be another way to kind of make him be on par with all the other Warframes, is to finally consider, launcher type weapons that carry a physical payload outside of the Cataclysm. So this all ties into the Caustacyst and why I'm using it on Limbo. I feel like it could live up to its potential if it had a certain amount of buffs, if it could leave the Cataclysm, if it could do this, if it could do that. I could brainstorm any number of ideas that could make it worth it. Another thing that I wanted to spend a good amount of time talking about was the absence of a charge speed mod. It's just so critical that we get that mod, because weapons like Sancti Magistar, they're really not worth using. I mean, what's to stop you from just equipping a high damage weapon like Broken War and putting Life Strike on it? You're really better off doing that, because the Sancti Magistar, it takes so damn long to do a charge attack with. It's just not going to help you in a critical situation. I mean, not to mention the fact that, we don't play alone. We play with, 3 other Tenno usually. I mean, there's not a whole lot of people who solo. So what's going to happen is our teammates are going to be so damn trigger happy while we're trying to put back health. Never mind the fact that whatever we're trying to put back the health of, we have to be within the range of. So if, for instance, the only reason why you brought a Sancti Magistar is to heal the pod. If you have a Mesa on your team, it's going to be critically impossible for you to heal that pod. Like, it's going to be so damn hard to get that charge attack off, because A, it takes too much time, B, you have to be within the range of everything you're trying to heal, and just that charge attack, man. It would really help if we had a mod that decreased the amount of time it takes to do a charge attack. And it would also help if they also made Sancti Magistar be a weapon that we could capitalize from the charge attack without having to equip it. It just makes sense. I mean, I don't see the point in using that weapon. I feel like that weapon isn't going to live up to its potential. It's being overhyped. Like, the community, it's just so overrated. I have it in my arsenal, and I've really only leveled it up like twice. I put a format into it, and I've not really used it all that much. And you could argue that that's my preference, but really I don't keep anything in my arsenal unless it's useful. So it's really, really in risk of being sold from my arsenal personally. And I would advise that you not let it keep up any space in your arsenal either, because it's situational. In its current form, it needs so many buffs to be viable, whereas other melees can just shine on their own. Melees like Zenistar, melees like Telos Boltes. So it's with great hopes and ambition that Digital Extremes can acknowledge this video and think about their melee weapons and what ones work well, what ones don't. I pretty much like all of the Syndicate melees that were recently added. They're pretty on par with in-game stuff, especially Telos Boltes. But certain ones just need a little bit closer attention, like the Sancti Magistar, as we discussed, and the Caustacyst. I think that it's high time that they actually make stuff work properly, work the way that they were intended to work, and we can move forward positive with the War Within. There's some of us who still have hope. There's some of us who still aren't too angry or impatient. We're just waiting for everything to work out with the War Within, and we're having faith. So if you found this video to be thought-provoking and you agreed with what I said, as always, slam that like button. It really helps me out. Subscribe to the channel. The details for our merchandise and our Facebook fan page are always in the description. And until next time, peace.